Family and friends, we have come this morning to remember Karen and to celebrate her 80 years of life here on this earth. You know, they say that time heals all wounds, but that's not true. For you see, it is God who heals all wounds. You and I were created to have relationships with one another, and when that relationship is lost, we feel the impact that it has on our lives. And today, we not only grieve the loss of a mother, a sister, a grandmother, an aunt, and a friend, but we also remember all of the good and wonderful things that Karen did during her life. And at times like this, we realize that we're never ready to lose the ones that we love. And we realize that life is unpredictable and there are no guarantees. In the blink of an eye, life can change. And life has changed for this family. Karen is gone. And after someone we love dies, we wish we had had more time. We think of all of the things we wish we would have said, or the things that we said that we wish we could have taken back. We wish we could have changed certain things and forget the petty issues that we were so concerned about. And so today, we say our final farewell to Karen, but she will always be remembered by those who knew her and who loved her. And so we give thanks for her life and the time she spent with each and every one that she knew. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, God of us all, your love never ends. You know each and every one of us to the very hairs on our heads. You knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb, and you know the very minute we will depart this earth. In the silence of this hour, speak to us of eternal things, that through your love and the comfort of your Son, Jesus Christ, we might have hope and be lifted above our darkness and distress into the light and the peace of your presence. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. And as we come together and celebrate Karen's life today, we stop to reflect on all that she was and what she brought into this world. Her son Steve, her daughter Stephanie, and her sister Bonnie share with you her life, her love, and her legacy.
Family, friends, and Pastor Ryan. For those of you that I haven't met, I'm Steve Brown, Karen's oldest son. Together with my sister Stephanie, we would like to thank you all for being here today. My mother loved Kansas with all her heart. It feels fitting to be here today, honoring and remembering her, particularly in this church adjacent to her childhood home and yard. Karen Stenzel Brown was a daughter of Kansas through and through. She was born in Great Bend, grew up in Ness City, and attended KU in Lawrence. Although she left the state for California in the 1960s, Kansas remained my mother in so many ways. A wagon wheel in front of from the Bondurant homestead literally greeted her at her front doorstep every day in California. To her family, her devotion to KU sports is legendary. She was a lifelong, die-hard, essentially hopeful Jayhawk fan, particularly KU basketball. She shared the joy and excitement and opinions about the team with all who were willing to root alongside her, and she enjoyed recruiting the next generation of fans, especially her grandsons. A special shout out to Dan Kenny, her oldest grandson, who watched most of the KU basketball games remotely with Mom over the past few years. Most importantly though, Kansas and the lessons my mom learned from her parents, Vernon and Donna Stenzel, informed the person she was. She valued family, hard work, perseverance, and she lived her life in service to these values every day. Family was so important to my mom. My mom made it a priority for us to return to Kansas every Christmas and summer during our youth. Not only did she want to spend time with family, she wanted me and Steph to develop relationships with our grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins, and for hopefully some of the Kansas sensibility to rub off on our two California kids. My mom would move heaven and earth to make these trips possible, even making the long drive on a number of occasions before I received my driver's license. And one year she even allowed me to pack my moped in the car. Yes, it was a tight squeeze, which allowed me to get around Ness City when I wasn't borrowing my grandpa's pickup truck. My mom knew the benefit of the time spent with family in Kansas, working on the farm or in the oil field. She knew that beyond work, I was learning life lessons, building character traits, and fostering a strong work ethic. I'd like to thank my mother for this time, the can-do attitude that inspired me as well, to be a creative problem solver, things I've learned here I could never learn in college or graduate school. My mom definitely inherited the Stenzel work ethic. She was active in regional California leadership of the Girl Scouts when we were young. In the early 1980s, after 15 years as a stay-at-home mom, and while working on occasion as a substitute teacher, my mom took an entry-level job in a large call center answering questions from Security First Group customers about their insurance products. She quickly worked her way up to be co-head of the call center, which led to promotions and new job opportunities in a number of major securities and insurance firms. Over the 30-year career, she held a number of senior positions and worked on a number of corporate restructurings. She ultimately retired from Farmers Insurance Group in 2007. While my mom enjoyed her job, she really loved the people she met while working, some of whom she counts as her closest friends. My mom had an easygoing nature and maintained many lifelong friendships, some from the days in Kansas, some from the work years, from the Girl Scouts, from Saugus, and from KU. Over the many years and many gatherings, these friends became a close friend group, and by extension, part of our family. My mom loved to spend quality time with her friends, attending concerts in the park, playing bridge, and traveling. She enjoyed annual camping trips with family and friends, and eventually ended up singing around a campfire, accompanying the group with her guitar. She grew up camping at Cedar Bluff and Lake Wilson and loved continuing that tradition in California. No discussion of my mom's friends can be complete without giving thanks to Julie Sieglin, my mom's roommate for the past 43 years. Julie was my mom's dear friend, constant companion, and during COVID in her battle with cancer, with boots on the ground, helping to manage her care and interface with doctors, hospitals and nursing homes, and generally going above and beyond the call of duty on a daily basis. Julie, I speak for Steph and the entire family when I say we can't thank you enough for all that you've done for my mom. As it may be apparent to you by now, my sister and I were exceptionally close to my mother. We were separated by distance, but we spoke to her nearly every day. So while she wasn't physically present, she was part of our lives on a daily basis. To me, she was much as a best friend as a mother. She loved to visit us and was particularly happy when I moved to the New York area. She loved the vibrancy of the city. The city also offered my mom the opportunity to see theater, which was one of her passions. In the early days of my time in New York, we would often hit the TKTS line to grab half-price tickets before a Broadway show. It was in the 1980s, before the days of the internet, instant information, and more importantly for purposes of this story, theater reviews. On one occasion, my mom and I rushed to the ticket booth before the 8 p.m. theater start time. We only had one choice at the window. Neither of us knew anything about the show, but we purchased the tickets anyway and rushed to the theater. It was only when Old Calcutta started did we learn that the cast was unclothed, yes, nude. Not just momentarily, but throughout the entire show. All of them performing skits that, shall I say, risque topics, not appropriate for me to describe in church, and not really appropriate for a mother and me to be watching together for nearly 2 hours. To our credit, we stayed for the entire show, even during a very uncomfortable intermission. Needless to say, we were a bit more diligent when purchasing theater tickets in the future. As much as she loved visiting Stephanie, her visits become much more important after we had families of our own. She absolutely loved being a grandmother to her 4 grandsons, and was delighted in hearing of their adventures, playing endless board games with them, watching their baseball games and soccer matches, listening to the saxophone, piano, guitar, and cello practices, attending graduation, and in later years, even tuning into their college radio programs. She was a consummate fan of whatever the boys embarked on, and was so proud of the men that they had become. She also loved sharing Kansas with her grandsons. The Stenzel family reunion every 4th of July weekend was a highlight. My mom enjoyed the convergence of her family from all parts of the country to Ness City, and watching her grandsons play in her childhood yard in Ness with their cousins. She enjoyed the pure celebration of Americana as the family gathered in a semicircle of lawn chairs in the breeze of the Kansas summer evening as the fireworks rang overhead. Yes, and I know my grandpa probably thought we could have done with fewer fireworks, but she never complained. Her last few years had been a hard-fought battle with cancer. They were not easy, but she persevered with dignity and grace. We were so fortunate to have nearly 2 years with my mom after she was first diagnosed with lung cancer. She was overjoyed this past Christmas Eve to be sitting at Christmas dinner with her entire family, my family, Steph's family, and Julie. She saw the legacy she created and was grateful. Mom had touched so many of us, provided love and advice and support when we needed it. She had a magical way of bringing joy every time she walked into a room. Anyone who had ever met her could never forget her smile. And I'll never forget the advice and lessons she taught me. Her love and wisdom will forever guide me through the rest of my life. I love you, Mom. Thank you.
Hi there. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you being here. Karen was a wonderful mother, grandmother, sibling, mother-in-law, and friend to so many of us. She was my best friend. I want to share a poem which I think she would have liked very much. It's called Remember Me. Remember me. Don't remember me with sadness. Don't remember me with tears. Remember all the laughter we've shared throughout the years. Now I am contented that my life it was worthwhile, knowing that I passed along the way, I made somebody smile. When you are walking down the street and you've got me on your mind, I'm walking in your footsteps, only a half a step behind. So please don't be unhappy just because I'm out of sight. Remember that I'm with you each morning, noon, and night. I love you, Mom.
Jamie. Just gonna help me keep breathing through this. I'm Bonnie Stenzel Legg, and number 2 in the Stenzel family. And I will be, I guess, repeating a little bit from what the obituary says, but I would like to share a few things about Karen.